Hello, everyone. On today's show, we're doing Pod and Review the Week. So, Jake, the week was a week which I think is a first on several fronts. But what's your take on the week? How do you think it went?
I think it went wow. It was it was a week that was pretty special, I felt, because we had some wonderful people on, and it was, well, we'll talk about it, but it was definitely a week that I'll remember. I'll say that, and then I'll share why in a few minutes. But definitely, I thought it was a special week.
We started the week with Ariel Hayes, an old friend of mine. And what was your impression?
Well, on our Facebook groups, I wrote that she is a teacher. When you think of a teacher, I think now her image will come in my head because she's a teacher 24/7. Even when she's on, I feel like she's a teacher. Just we went right on. We went to share screen. I didn't know we were going to do that. Did you?
No.
I think I messed up a little bit in the beginning, and then I figured it out. And then she kept going, and she was showing the different colors. She looked at the different apps that she uses, right? And I was like, wow. And then she went into her personal story, and I just kept being amazed at her as she went and got her degree and then her master's, and then she even struggled throughout her life. She struggled with some I won't say learning disabilities, but I guess some learning challenges, right? And she still pushed through, and so I could see why you're friends with her. I could see why she's a leader at her school, and she was somebody who's outspoken, but she's somebody you want to listen to. And so I really enjoyed that time with her.
Yes, I did too. And I want to remind people to check it out, Ariel Hayes Meyer, and what she's accomplished after what she's been through. She lost her mom at 16.
Yeah.
She talked about sort of bringing her little sister along as they went through life, really without either parents. And this is a first. She mentioned her little sister, as her mentor. That was nice. And you mentioned her reading comprehension problem, but she still achieved what she has achieved. And I do want to say, because when I asked her what teacher stood out to her at the New Village School, she mentioned almost everybody. I did want to say, though, just a shout out to Natalie Arrington, another teacher who worked at New Village, who was somebody you could walk in and watch and steal a bunch of things, which I have done. She is the kind of teacher that, while some teachers take their students to MoCA or to the Mark Taper Forum on an outing, she took her kids to Italy. Learning experience for them.
Yeah,
and one of the things I stole from her is that the first week of school, she brought in a sofa and she put it around the bookshelves there. She put a nice rug, and students would just sit down and lay down and relax. And, they associate reading with comfort. And so I started doing that in my new school, and it's really cool. I do want to mention that Ariel talked about Cracker, and she recommends the song Get Off This and Been Around the World. She mentioned also a book, Children's Past Lives by Carol Bowman. And that's a really interesting idea there, talking to children who, as they speak about different environments that they've seen, but they're very small and there's been no history of that. This idea that children might have past lives. But I thought of the documentary Parallel Worlds, Parallel Lives, because you could have an interesting discussion around theology, science, around some of these ideas. So I looked at that as a good companion piece. So
that's a great documentary. If anybody wants to watch that, it's so fun. We might want to do an episode on that, just because it's great.
Okay, interesting. Let's move on to Sabrina Liu.
Yeah, Sabrina. I've known Sabrina. I'm trying to think about how long I've known her. For at least 10 years. Met her at the YMCA, local YMCA. She was an instructor there, gymnastics for my son. We got to get to know each other, families. I've seen her children grow up. One of her daughter is at the Navy Academy. We're talking about bright kids. Okay, one of them is also at another university. Just I could go on and on about her kids. And EJ is also such a special boy, musically inclined and just intelligent. And so I've known her, like I said, these 10 years, and I've seen her just teach other kids and regarding different devices, AAC devices. But really, our lives changed when my son was able to communicate to us, communicate to the world. He even talks about it every so often. He goes, one of the most special times in his life is when he found his voice. And it was Sabrina Liu that helped him with that. So it was a low-tech communication device, right? And that reminds me, if anybody out there wants to know more information about that, go ahead and DM me and we'll talk, okay? Because it transformed our lives. Gideon communicates now. He's not only communicating, he's going to classes that are not only special ed, he's going to general ed classes. And he's an A student. Okay? Gideon's just off the charts bright. And so I would never have known that without Sabrina. And she shared that with, she talked about the naked mole rat. That was one of the first lessons she taught Gideon. And it was really it was something for him to understand, a lesson where he would find it interesting and he would want to communicate. And so that was one of the first lessons he started writing back on what, she taught him about the mole rat, and he would write back what he learned. And that was just a typical way of, hey, you know what? Our kids aren't going to learn unless they are put information in front of them, lessons in front of them that are interesting. Just like our students, right, Ruben? I mean, if we do a lesson that's not interesting, our kids are going to check out. And same with our SPED kids. So I got a little emotional on the episode. I think anytime I talk about my boys, I go there. I'm not embarrassed by it, but it's just a sensitive topic, the growth of my children, and especially Gideon, who has grown tremendously. Anyway, I owe the world to her. And at the end, we talked a little bit about her time in the arts and in film and in TV shows and all that. And I just really feel like that really has helped her with her teaching special ed kids, or I should say kids with autism or kids with some type of disability, usually communication disabilities. But anyway, I really love Sabrina. Our family does.
So we categorize that episode under the SPED and Deliver concept because it was really geared toward special ed. Sure. However, there are some things that are useful there for the general ed teacher, and you just brought one up, and that was the idea behind high interest materials. That's useful for any student. So that gets them interested, that gets them talking perhaps. That's the whole point about the mole rat, the naked mole rat. I also want to bring out something that is useful for the SPED teacher, and that is the goal item. She mentioned that her child had the same goal for 3 years in a row, but it's not just that sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you can repeat a goal the next year. But the point is it felt to her that this was just sort of paint by numbers or like, let's just put a goal there. And it wasn't specifically geared for the development of her son. And so sometimes you get into that trap. You got to be really mindful of who this individual is and to create a goal that would be useful in his progress or her progress. Okay. I also want to mention the Occupational Octaves website. And there's a really interesting article there. I thought it would be interesting to read it. And it's very short. But I just want to point this out to you. Because he says flow in the time of COVID-19. So this idea of flow state, I wasn't familiar with it. At least I don't remember it, but apparently it's an expression that is used around psychology and meditation. And I've been around both circles, and I had never remembered or recalled hearing that. But anyway, flow in the time of COVID-19. My name is Lee Stocker, and a classical pianist with an attention deficit diagnosis. So I know firsthand that playing and succeeding with musical challenges is a purposeful and highly rewarding endeavor. I also know that if you find yourself in the special needs category, no matter how mild or pervasive, the susceptibility for depression is inherently high. During the COVID-19 pandemic, that susceptibility is increased for everyone, even the strongest among us. It leaves time and space for our minds to stew in negativity, isolation, failure, and more. Alternatively, when I am playing the piano, if I am on a confident pathway to success, my mind soon becomes absent of this negativity, even if only for a while. Instead, it is filled with symbols to translate, organized instructions, exciting patterns, and beautiful sounds. There is also the motivating feeling of getting closer to achieving goals as the music begins to emerge from my fingers effortlessly, like each digit has a brain of its own. This is part of the process of reaching a highly rewarding state of mind named flow. So, what a concept of, we hear about people with struggles and anxiety and depression, for sure, students, even teachers, especially in COVID, but the idea of addressing it through music, through playing music, not just listening. We think listening. No, playing.
Yeah.
And this website is a sort of the connection to that path.
Oh, great.
Good.
Great recommendation too. I hope our listeners will take a look at it for sure.
Okay, so then we had Vinny returning to us with a episode in which you and him talked about a second look at history. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've been working on this for a couple of weeks now, and obviously, whenever you do an episode like that, the first one, if anybody's ever seen Ruben's and my first episode, you can see hopefully we've grown. I think we have. And so looking at that episode, I see that as the beginning, hopefully, of us doing a few more. It was fun to just go. I mean, I think I talked to Vinny almost as much as Ruben now, just because we're just discussing, the episode, how we want to make it better. But we also want to make it in a way where we're working hard to give information. So at the end of the episode, you'll see our citations. And a lot of this is where Vinny did his homework. He went and he did research, and I did a little research too, but he did 99% of it. And so we're going to probably do that more. Well, I'll throw in a little bit more of a hand with different topics that are, that are just different. This one had to do with the CIA and had to do with, is it an agency that could be trusted? And looking at it, I look at the CIA and say, wow, it's not a perfect agency at all. And there are some question marks there. And I think that came out. And so did he do the best job of delivering that? I said, you know what, we'll wait for the second episode on the topic. But, there are a couple points that he made strong, and there are a couple that were a little murky, So I think we'll keep working on it and keep making those episodes better and finding, looking at history a second time to just to really dive into topics that are fun for us, but also hopefully fun for the viewer.
I think you and I both agree that it would probably be done in a slightly altered format, just so that we could get the best out of Vinny, and for the viewer, it'd be a little bit more palatable for the viewer in the sense of how it's formatted, because we see that my favorite part of this episode, anyway, is when Vinny is bringing out the song, he's singing, and to me, that charisma and that humor of his, I want to see more of, and I want to see the engagement, and I know that it's there. So I think that's a really cool step. Okay, so then we have To Sir with Love.
Wow, I've seen it once before. I just totally forgot of them. I didn't forget the movie per se, the full film. I just didn't know I don't remember the ending. I knew the song pretty well, and then we went and you and I reviewed it and we looked at it, and I was so happy with it. I really enjoyed it. More, I guess I enjoyed it more because I didn't think I was going to enjoy it that much. Because I thought, people have kind of joked about it a little bit, and we've had viewers. I think there's 2 people who said, "Hey, you should watch this." I think one of them was Oswaldo, right? And I said, "Okay, we'll do this." And I was so much fun, and he did a great performance. Obviously, there's some lessons to be learned there regarding things that you might want to watch out, what teaching regarding things you want to do, things that maybe you don't want to do. You mentioned things like, hey, it's probably not a good idea to let kids, sit wherever they want, or, just things like that will help classroom management. And so watching Sidney Poitier, just learning how to be a teacher, and then getting to a point where he thought, hey, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. I'm going to stick with it. And he didn't say those words, but you know that he did that because of him tearing up a letter to become an engineer. But I enjoyed it. I think I think we had to watch a couple movies that were so-so. And I finally felt like, oh man, we were watching one that was really good. So I'm not sure how you felt about it.
Yes, without giving away too much, there's a book review that we're going to be we're going to bring out very soon. I think the next episode, and there is a concept within the book about doing something that might not be beneficial financially or smart in people's eyes, but it's true to you. It's true to you. And that's all you have to do or be true to is to yourself. Because, going back to the movie, this is what Sidney Poitier does at the end. And it would make no sense to 90% of the people he would talk to, that he would quit or he would not take an engineering job and stick to teaching. But he knew this was true to him. And the other teacher was right. What he accomplished here was much more significant, because you and I know students like that. We've worked with students like this, and it's an accomplishment if you can get them all to do the right thing. So I didn't say enough, I think, in the review of what he did as a teacher. I mentioned a few things, but he really turned it around. And you have to keep asking yourself questions. And say what went right today and what went wrong, especially if you're a new teacher. At the end of the day, and if you're lucky to have a TA, you ask them, what do you think went right? What do you think went wrong? And then you make the adjustments. And at first, you don't see the progress, but after a few weeks, you'll see it. And that's what he did. So very good movie. One of the best we've seen this season. We needed to see a good movie.
We needed it
because there have been too many not so good ones. Okay.
Hey Ruben, can I wish you a happy 50th?
I don't get it.
Happy 50th episode.
Oh, hey.
I thought you would remember.
And that does it for today's episode. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.